Good morning, Justice Warriors. How are you guys this morning? It's Sunday. It is January 8th, 11:42. I apologize for not being able to make it on yesterday. What happened? It was a Saturday and, life gets busy. I missed you guys. I really did. I want to keep a fine balance of communicating with my peeps as much as I can, and also, not neglecting any areas of my life, like my family, my house, me, gotta take care of me. So if you are here and want to say something in chat, then I'll know that you're here. I'll just start out by saying, hello, Avoid Ice 2. Good to see you, Fee Bennett. Hey, missed you yesterday. Hope you're having a great weekend. Susan Dodge, you guys are the bomb. Thank you so much for joining me. That is so cool. It took you like less than a minute, you guys. Larissa, you too. Sweet. We already have 5 awesome people. Alistair is here. Fred Field is here. 6 from Illinois. Dreary, 33 degrees. Yeah, I know. I'm in Ohio. It got really cold yesterday. Like 25, 29 might have been the low. So let's get right into it. I need to always say my disclosure that everything I say is my opinion only, simply for the sake of conversation, and it's really for the purpose of hoping to educate myself and anyone else who's interested in educating me or themselves. And it's made specifically for YouTube, so I do like to communicate the umbrella of entertainment, because YouTube is obviously an entertainment platform. Hey, Kale. And just so you guys know, I'm monetized, actually. It's not a big deal. It's not a lot. I don't plan to do a lot with it, but it's just the structure of this platform. So I'm excited to be monetized. I think, it's hard to say. It seems like everything is a double-edged sword. The careful what you ask for, you just might get it kind of thing. Good morning, Kim Moron. How are you? So let's just get right into it. Did I do the whole disclosure? And please hit that thumbs up, like button, subscribe, and share if you'd be so kind and if you feel like it. So I'm simply stating my opinion based on the information so far. I want to tell you guys right off the bat that I have spent the last couple of days, I guess this is one of the reasons why I didn't get to do a live yesterday, because I spent hours combing through my videos from the last few days before Christmas because of that one statement that I got from some rando that I'd never seen in the chat, who said something to the degree of, all the experts know it's an incel, you're behind the times, or something like that. That's not precisely what he said, but I read it out loud to you guys, and I was like, that's just a little too rude. Like, you're fine to have your opinion, you're fine to share, but I just felt like this sense of anger and control and really trying to guide the narrative that made me extremely uncomfortable. Not so uncomfortable that I blocked the person, but I did delete their comment. I almost blocked them. And then I was like, you know what? I don't know. I mean, it was rude, but let's just give a warning. Anyway, I haven't been able to find it. So I don't know if it is still on my videos or not. And I want to add too that I do, I try to review every tape same day when I make it, so that I can address any corrections, delete anything that came out completely backwards. I try not to delete things, but I edit if I have to. But I a lot of times will just address it in the next video or put it in the comments and pin it. And so in watching the videos, I told you guys last week on double speed, I just couldn't have been more annoyed with how I talk and everything. I was just like, oh my God, could I be any worse? But I have to say, thank goodness when I watched them on single speed, because I couldn't take the double speed anymore, I didn't annoy myself so much. And I also was really proud of how I continued to frame things, even when I was making my harshest accusations of my own suspicions and my, prime suspect number 1. I always couched it with, this is simply my opinion. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So I want to say that again about the criminal defendant, who I really want to keep calling the criminal defendant and nothing else. My personal opinion is that if he is indeed guilty, he doesn't deserve a name. He certainly doesn't deserve to have vegan food to his liking, but oh my goodness, that's another thing. So I have been trying to keep up with News Nation, especially. One of the specialists on News Nation said that he might be vegan, and this is just one specialist, but it made sense to me that he might recognize his own cannibalistic urges, and he might be so scared of that he does not want to go there. Perhaps. I thought it was a fascinating perspective. At first, I thought it was a little out there. I was like, what? But the more I listen to this person talk, and I'll try to quote who the expert was, but it was on News Nation. And I just thought, wow, that could have some weight to it. This guy is super sick. A lot of talk has been people's opinion that they think this is probably his first incident. And again, let me say, the criminal defendant, if he's found guilty in a court of law, is obviously the sickest of the sick, correct? A lot of experts think this could be his first kill based on how many mistakes he made. And some experts think that this is definitely not his first kill. And my own opinion I want to share with you is that I liken this quadruple homicide to the multiple homicide incident that got Ted Bundy the execution when he got prosecuted for breaking into a sorority and sexually assaulting and murdering multiple victims. So I think that was in Gainesville. I think it was in the 70s. I think there were like 5 victims, and a couple might have survived actually, but there were people in the house that weren't attacked. Anyway, in his own words, it was kind of like he lost control. And I've always wondered if this could be like that. Even when I had my other prime suspect number 1 in mind, I thought, well, if it's not that other person and it is some kind of psycho killer, because it just didn't make sense that it could be anything but one of those two. Anyway, my point is that he was out of control. He was totally out of control. And even if it was his first incident, which, like I said, I personally don't think it was, if he did do this. But if it is, fantasy is so much different than reality. And I think what's stymieing all of us across the boards, I can speak for myself and the content creators that I've been able to keep up with the last couple of days, which isn't a lot. There's just so much information out there. It's just hard to discern the facts. That affidavit had a lot of information, like way more than anybody expected, but it had an entire page redacted. Like if they were willing to show the public so much of that, like what in the world is on that entire page redacted? And you also need to remember that the officer, the corporal writing that affidavit, was not the first to enter the crime scene. I think he was the second to enter the crime scene, I think. But I know for a fact he wasn't the first. And why they had him write it rather than the first, I do not know. He was a good writer, so I'll give him that. Maybe it was just because his writing skills were really good. One of his survivors had to look at him in the eyes while he cross-examined. Terrifying, Kale DePena says, and I'm pretty sure she's talking about Bundy. Wow. I know, avoid ice, that they are serving him vegan food. Some people say vegan, some people say vegan. I think it's vegan, because I know a lot of people who eat like that. And most of them, honestly, they do it to try to keep their weight down. It's a very clean diet, but I can't do it. I can do like a vegan diet. I can do like a vegetarian diet, but I have to have my meat. But I do love to eat healthy. I do love fruits and veggies and whole grains and tofu. And a lot of times people think I'm a vegetarian, and I'm just like, no way, Jose. Not even for a day usually. Anyway, I don't see the dollar signs for monetization, Kim. Well, thank you. When you do a live, I don't know if you can make that adjustment before you start. So right after I finish, I switch it from not monetized to monetized. But if you look at all my other videos, every single one of them is monetized. There's a couple that are limited, probably the ones where I dropped the F-bomb like 20 times when there were like big revelations in the Kylie Rodney case, and I just completely lost all filter. Yes, he has great writing skills, Kale says. Digestive system, it's probably a plus. Not really, Zena. I could not stand meat anymore. Oh, okay, Caleb. Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons. I think so many reasons that people are vegetarian or vegan, and that speculation of why the criminal defendant might be vegan could be off base, and it could have some bearing. I don't know. I wanted to talk about just how he got into the house, the time frame. I want to nail down a couple of things with the actual incident, because poring over all of the timestamps in the affidavit and in the reports that other newscasters are giving, and let me say, you guys know I'm no newscaster. I'm just like a chatty chat person. I'm just here to discuss my thoughts and feelings, and I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings. And I also hope to get the thing where I can have people actually call in rather than just trying to read what you're saying. So Caleb Lee says, I cut out beef, alcohol, and nicotine right before COVID. Oh, good for you, because I think alcohol was really tough for a lot of people with COVID. That was really tough. Susan Dodge was 17 when she testified against her perp. Oh my goodness. And Avoid Ice says sometimes the F-bombs is a necessary, period. I agree. I totally agree. So I want to talk about that time frame when he was staking out the house. We all know that he had staked out the house, allegedly, according to electronic data, about 12 times since August. So since this crew of roommates possibly had been in that house, somewhere around there. And he drove around that house 4 times in the wee hours of the night morning of November 12th, 13th. It was his 4th time around that he parked and went in. So I think they have a lot of surveillance to determine all of this and nail it down completely. It was about 4:05 that he parked his car. I can't remember if it was 4:06, 4:05, possibly 4:04, but I think it was 4:05 or 4:06 a.m. when he parked his car. That's on a videotape surveillance, allegedly. And then it was 4:12 when Xana's DoorDash was delivered. No. I'm sorry. It was 4:12 when she was on her TikTok app. So it was somewhere closer to 4, maybe, that the DoorDash was delivered. So maybe that's why he waited until 4:05, 4:06. But then his car was videotaped on a surveillance camera of a neighbor's, I believe, driving away at a high rate of speed at 4:20. That to me is astounding and terrifying. So he had roughly 14 minutes from the time he got out of his car until he got back into his car. 14 minutes, and he just wreaked havoc, allegedly, if he is the guilty party, if the criminal defendant is found guilty in a court of law. Ring has footage too that will come out in court. So the last 24 hours, I'm sure most of you know that a lot of information has been coming out into the streets of YouTube with the audio of some, what might be or allegedly is the audio of in that 14-minute time frame. So I don't want to say much about that because we could be dealing with another, red herring. We could be dealing with another fake, falsified tape, like how the YouTube community did a couple of weeks ago with the one creator initials JM. We'll just leave it at that. So everybody was going nuts with that. So the police probably do have some audio from Alexa. Who's the other one? Siri. All of our cell phones are recording us all the time. Believe it. It's true. It's the way it is. Our laptops as well. And then everybody with their home surveillance systems. I mean, so many people have those in this day and age, right? I mean, everybody's ordering stuff off of Amazon. Nobody wants their stuff stolen off their porch. Everybody's got a surveillance system. Fake news. Someone is doctoring Ring audio, in my opinion. I agree. I can't imagine how that would get out. So again, I want to address the gag order too. The gag order is only specifically legally for the professional employees tied to the case. So that includes everybody that works for the court. That includes all of the law enforcement. That includes the lawyers. We live in America with freedom of speech. However, for myself, I can only speak for myself, I find it important to be extremely careful of what I say. I would never want to do anything that would compromise the integrity of the trial, the upcoming, impending, expected trial. So, and unless they get a plea agreement, which, we just don't know. Black coffee, I try to cook with salt and sugar, but I do sweets. I think it's Caleb Lee. I think you meant you try to cook without salt and sugar, but do sweets. So yeah, and I've got my new little cup. I thought with a straw it might be easier for me to drink when I'm speaking without making noise. And I'm still getting my brain jacked up on caffeine. So let's talk about who called 911. We still don't know that. Maybe that is in that page that's redacted. It's hard to say, but that's a key flag for me that something is up with that 911 call, that they do not want anyone to know who even made the call, because 911 calls are public record usually really quickly after. I mean, you can usually get a 911 call same day if you do a public records request. That's how 911 calls work. They're different than the rest of the case. They're different than the report that you can't get until the case is closed. So who called 911? We know allegedly, we know that allegedly the criminal defendant went back into Moscow and by the home, the scene of the crime, at about 9:30 in the morning. My opinion is that he was excited to see what was going on with the havoc that he had wreaked on these poor victims, and that he was extremely disappointed that it was nothing, right? I wonder, because the call didn't come in until closer to noon. I think it was 11:58. I wonder if it could have even been him. I know that sounds insane, but remember, anybody who would do something like this is obviously completely insane. And let me add, they don't have the insanity defense in Idaho. Nice. Really nice. Good choice. I'm being sarcastic. I'm so glad that they don't have the insanity defense in Idaho. Anyway, allegedly, our criminal defendant drove 2 hours away from Moscow, not towards his home, but 2 hours away from his home in Moscow after he drove by the scene, allegedly. I believe that that's when he went into an Albertsons and purchased some goods. And I believe that It's speculated that he then went to a national park and I don't know. I'm just going to take a stab in the dark. Sorry, didn't mean to say that. Maybe he had a fire. Maybe he bought some things at Albertsons to go burn everything in the woods. So I don't know. I mean, these are just my ideas. And, in consulting with my mod, one of my mods in particular, I have a handful of mods and I appreciate you so much, you guys. I can't even tell you. I appreciate all of you. I want to tell you that. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate the lurkers just as much as I appreciate the mods and the commenters. So thanks. And I know I've been missing a ton of them. I will catch them later. What's the story behind Idaho not having an insanity defense, Caleb Lee? It's the only freaking state in our nation that doesn't. And man, I'm glad. I'm so glad. That's just me. And I'm laughing with glee because I'm thinking this criminal defendant may not have known that. It's impossible to know all of the state laws, especially when you haven't even lived in that state. I'm telling you, it's impossible to know. You cannot keep up, no matter how smart you are, no matter how professional you are, no matter how many years of experience you've had. You cannot keep up with all the individual state laws. And let's get to another state that I am loving right now because there's good and bad to everything. So, there's a ton of libertarians that live in Idaho. Libertarians, if you don't know, they are very hands off with government in citizens' lives. That's kind of the bottom line as I see it. So that could do a favor for a perp. The insanity defense, that's just beautiful. Anyway, let me go over to Indiana because that's a state that I live right next to. I live in Ohio, and Indiana has always been known, not just to the neighbors in Ohio, but to everyone. Indiana is old school, kind of like, I'll just say it and forgive me, and I don't mean to offend anybody because there's good and bad to everything. So, and that might come out wrong too. It's a good old white boys club. Sorry, I am sorry to say that, but that's just kind of the easiest way to say it. Their law enforcement, especially, okay? There's a lot of oddities about Indiana that are unique to Indiana. Now, remember that the criminal defendant and the alleged criminal defendant's father drove across the country. And it appears that they drove through Colorado. I don't know why that would be. But they didn't get stopped in any other state coming across the country, although they were being surveilled by the FBI. And we know that they got stopped twice in Indiana, 30 minutes apart from each other. One for tailgating, one for going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So a lot of YouTubers and, content creators and viewers alike were speculating that and me too, speculating that the FBI put Indiana law enforcement up to that. Allegedly, FBI is saying they did no such thing. That's on News Nation in the last day or two. Which is good. We don't want them to compromise the integrity of their investigation. So it sounds like they were probably communicating with each state across the country to let them know something was coming through. And Indiana took it upon themselves to get all this videotape footage. That whole purpose, it wasn't just to put the screws to these people and make them nervous. It was to get body cam footage of the criminal defendant's face, of his hands, because they were pretty sure that he had scars on his hands. They weren't even sure 100%, or maybe they were, but they wanted to confirm whether he was right-handed or left-handed. So those were the things that these Indiana law enforcement people said, this MF isn't going to go driving through our state without us having a say in the matter, and we're going to do what we do. So kudos to them. Again, living in the state right next door, it's easy for us Ohioans to be a little bit uppity about some things, and oh, we're better than Indiana and we're better than Kentucky. And every state has its beauties and every state has its challenges. And let me just add, Ohio is really old school too. And I love tradition, but I don't love the stagnation. So I just want to throw that out there, that I'm not saying that Ohio is better than Indiana by any means, but you know how it gets. People can just be kind of funky like that. Indiana is known for being old school and good old boys aspect and honorable as heck. Oh, honorable as heck. See, I didn't know that part. Again, being from Ohio, it's like you just kind of look down a little bit as a insecure state, because a lot of people look down at Ohio. They're just like, what do you got in Ohio? Like, that's an ugly state. There's nothing to offer. And I'm like, yeah, just go ahead and keep thinking that, because, I like it underpopulated. But I'll just say it. It's a great state. A lot of people know that. And every state has its beauties and its downfalls. Even living on the West Coast, there were a lot of downfalls in Washington State, in Oregon, and in California. And I love each and every one of those states. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And the only other couple of places that I lived, Washington, D.C. and Florida, also, there's a lot to be said for each state. There's just too much. We won't even get into it. I want to get focused on reading a few of your things and wrapping up, because we're already getting to close to half an hour. Did you hear what your governor just said, Caleb Lee? No. What did our governor just say? Was this today or yesterday? What the heck? Michigan, we take the cool factor. Yeah, Michigan is gorgeous. And also, they had that whole like kidnapping of their governor. That was cray cray. Pixie Knickers, so sorry to hear you went through that at 12. Oh, I'm sorry, Pixie Knickers, I missed it. Like I said, I will go through and read everything when I review my tape. Yes. Caleb Lee's also an Ohioan. So, what did our governor just say? What? Please share. Yes. Ohio means good morning, beautiful. But a lot of people get Ohio confused with Iowa and Idaho, and they don't know the difference, and they think they're all like somewhere lost in the Midwest, and they're, just kind of like Kansas, just, no man's land. So yeah, are you going to share or what? What did the governor just say? I'm going to go on to a couple of key points and then wrap up, but please do share if you'd like. So let's get to the night of the apprehension of the criminal defendant. It was about 4 a.m. ish that planes were circling the property, very low to the ground, so a lot of noise. And then, hold on a second. Sorry about that. Yes, Pixie Knicker says, thank you for all the support, basically tagging one person in particular. God has his reasons, and I'm a better person for it. Oh my goodness. Avoid Ice 2 says, you ever get a chance to visit the west coast of Michigan and northern coast? And I just got to tell anybody who hasn't been to the upper peninsula of Michigan, go. Go to that edge of the upper peninsula of Michigan where there's 26 miles called Painted Rock. Unbelievable. The UP. Yes. Anyway, where was I? Going in to apprehend the alleged criminal defendant. Law enforcement, I believe what I heard on News Nation was they had 50 boots on the ground, busting down the door, breaking the windows, and apprehending this suspect. They figured if he did do what it looked like he did, that he was going to be absolutely a danger to self and others, a danger to every single law enforcement, and a danger to his family too, and a danger to himself. So they were successful in apprehending him without incident, and they don't have to pay for the damages if he's found guilty. Actually, they don't have to pay for the damages even if he's not found guilty, just so long as they apprehended the person that they were intending to apprehend. If they had busted into a neighbor's house and did that accidentally, they looking for this guy, they would absolutely pay for all the damages. But that's just a little tidbit. Anyway, it brings me great satisfaction to think about that happening and him waking up, and probably in less than half a second he knew exactly what was going on. And thank goodness they got him. Thank goodness he didn't get away. Thank goodness he didn't off himself or off them or off his parents. I mean, sometimes crazy people like that will have the entire residence booby trapped, right? Oh, they didn't break all the windows, Kristen. They just broke some windows, and I don't know how many, but I do know that that front door had a giant oval window on it that they had taped, like put duct tape on. The family had prior to the arrest, I think. I don't know. I'll have to look. So, oh my goodness. Kim Maron says, did I say your last name right? I'll just stick with the first names. Kim, I'm pretty sure I said that right. Says, cool, I'm in Buffalo, Amherst. Amherst is beautiful, and I would imagine Buffalo is too, but I can't imagine a colder place to live right now. So the other day I was talking about the kind of like war scars that a lot of times people that have been through a lot of trauma can wear their trauma as a badge of armor, which I think it's great to be able to see the benefits of anything that you've been through. But in that sense, when people do that, it's usually not so positive. It's usually more like bragging and being overinflated about it and thinking that they're better than other people because of what they've been through. When, I just think that that's not a healthy thing to do with it. It is nice to recognize something as positive, but going back to the know what you know for yourself. Know what you know from your own trauma, your own experience. Understand that other people are not going to understand as much as they might try. And I'm wanting to hop over to the Kylie Rodney case for a moment here, because those of us that have been following the Kylie Rodney case know that one content creator, Kevin Neese, had put out a bunch of new information and then pulled those videos down, perhaps temporarily, until he can get re-verification of some of his facts. But what I want to say about the whole Kylie Rodney case in general is know what you know. Trust what you know about how bass backwards so much was in that case. I have teenagers close to Kylie's age. I have younger and older. And the whole picture of what happened allegedly the night of August 6th, that whole thing is 100% BS. We all know it. 100% BS. Oh, we've got videos of people making videos. Hundreds. We've got millions of tips. Do you guys remember? Like, those are all actual quotes from the person who was trying to drive the narrative. Millions. Or was it thousands? Okay, just because I haven't checked in the last 24 hours, let's just go with thousands, because I know that for sure. It could have been millions. But I mean, that chick was all over the place with her. We have hundreds of videotapes of people making videotapes. Really? So all of this information about a fake autopsy, about a bogus autopsy, about a bogus timeline. I think we can trust all of that, that we got a lot of bogus, artificial BS timeline. The whole thing with the fire cam, 100% BS, in my humble opinion. Yes, it was the fire cam from up on that hill. That's about it. Hey, all, there are 50 of us in chat and only 20 likes so far. Please remember to like. Oh, well, that's so cool that we have 50 of us in here and 20 likes. I am just really appreciative of every single one of you. Let me just say real quick, I was so excited. I checked some of my analytics this morning. I'm getting super close to 400,000 views. Can you believe it? I, had just hit the 3,000 subs, I think, on Christmas. That was like my Christmas present. I believe it was Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It was one of them. I think it was Christmas Day. That was super cool. Anyway, so getting close to 400,000 views is phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. So I just want to say again, I appreciate you guys so much. Like, that's totally magic in my opinion. Okay, so there was a couple other things so the misdirected hostility at AWP in the Kylie Rodney case, what was that all about? Remember, AWP all got shot to hell with doubt because of what happened with Jared and his court stuff. We don't want to get distracted by that for the Kylie Rodney case. In my opinion, it has nothing to do with the Kylie Rodney case. Jared had nothing to do with the Kylie Rodney case. He wasn't there. So I think it's really easy for the gaslighters to convolute that and say, oh, well, Jared's bad, so therefore everything AWP goes out the window. Yeah, in their dreams, right? Absolutely in their dreams. Because AWP and roadside assistant Nick are their undoing, the people driving the narrative. And certainly 100% there are people driving the narrative. That is 100% obvious, correct? It's a whole bunch of hogwash. So I don't think that case is anywhere near over. I don't think that case has really ever gotten started. There was an arrest last night. I don't know if it's related or unrelated. Oh, goodness gracious. Is it called Behind the Scenes with Hailey V, the British content creator that just did a short on this arrest of this human trafficker in Mexico yesterday? Look it up. Behind the Scenes with Hailey V. I'm pretty sure that's the title. I've been missing it. I know that I have it in my notepad, so let me go back and look for it real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll read a few more of your comments. I have been messing up her name, and thank goodness I looked at the scene with Hailey V. Okay, check her out. She's a smaller channel like my own. She is in the UK. She does a lot of coverage of the Royals, and she is really focused on the Kylie Rodney case. So she just put out that short about this person getting arrested for trafficking in Mexico. And at first, I literally wasn't even thinking about the Kylie Rodney case. I thought, oh, well, good. At least one human trafficker is getting arrested. Maybe there'll be more. And it took me probably 12 hours before I was like, duh, Mexico, what? There easily could be. I'm not saying that there is. I'm just saying that there easily could be something to that. So I'm going to read a few of these. Let's see. Oh, you're so sweet, Kim. Thank you for that. She says, Justice A to Z rocks. That's really, really kind of you. Alistair says, we shall see, but it does explain the party on the day off, the supposed cremation. It explains that. It explains the anger at AWP. That's what I started to say, and I got sidetracked. Remember that AWP has been thanked profoundly by every family of every person whose remains they have recovered. This case of Ms. Kylie Rodney is the only case where they were not thanked. That, to me, speaks volumes. It was a lot of, in my opinion, misdirected hostility towards them. All of those weird statements on the day of the celebration of life, all of those weird statements, we got this, back off, this is my kid, basically shut the fuck up. What was that? Why would somebody be standing over to the side at their loved one's celebration of life, given lip to YouTubers? Why would that be their priority on that day of such grieving and hopefully healing and devastation and sadness? We have to ask ourselves why. The proof is in the pudding. Don't miss the obvious. Be observant, be objective, and don't miss the obvious. So on that, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I don't plan to do another one tonight, but I certainly will be back on my game tomorrow morning. So love to you all. Have a great day. Spend it however you wish. It's Sunday, so it's a really good time to hit your reset button and do the things you need to do to get started for the work week for Monday morning. I want to personally thank you for keeping up with the Kylie Rodney case. And I have not kept up with you guys at all. I have not tapped a single one of these pin message. I apologize. And I feel like I know you. I wish I did. The whole case is crazy, and keep up the good work, the motivation. Thank you. Pam Rex, that's so sweet. I know. I kind of feel like I know all you guys too. It's really wild, isn't it? Just this whole YouTube internet thing. It's pretty fascinating. And yes, Kylie Rodney has always spoken to my heart. I've always identified with her, I think, as my own teenage years, and then certainly for my children, who, as you may know, range in age from 10 to 20 at this point in time. So I've got girls are the bookends and the boys are in the middle, 15 and 18. So my kids are right in there. So I can ask them when I'm like, what's normal for kids these days? And of course, what's normal for my kids is going to be different for other kids. But at the same time, it helps you keep your thumb on the pulse. So I'm going to sign off, you guys. Eat well, get your exercise, get your rest, your relaxation. Do what you want to do what inspires you. Make sure you eat your produce. That's so important. Your fruits and veggies, no matter who you are. And also, no matter who you are, make sure you get your protein, whatever source that is. And the hydration is number one. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you kindly. Have a great Sunday. Take care. And love to you all.